Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Commodity TV here in Zurich for the ZURI Invest Night. And it's my honor and pleasure now to talk for an update to John McCluskey, the CEO of Alamos Gold. Hey, good to see you. Good morning.
Great to be here.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time as always. And first of all, congratulations to a fantastic record year you guys just showed some weeks ago. I think last year was fabulous for your company.
It was a record year. We had record production, record revenues, record earnings, just brilliant right across the board.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. So, well, the first question is, what are you going to do with the money?
Well, we have no shortages where growth is concerned and where we can allocate that capital. Right now, we're still continuing on with the expansion of our Island Gold project.
Mm-hmm.
So phase 3 is expected to be completed by the middle of 2026.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been sinking our shaft. We've been building a paste backfill plant. We've been essentially putting everything in place to operate that mine from a shaft operation as opposed to the ramp operation, which it's been running now for over 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And this work's going very well. We're on time. We're on budget. It will have the effect of increasing production from roughly 150,000 ounces a year to roughly 300,000 ounces a year.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a production rate we could sustain for quite a long time. It will lower costs because it's much more efficient. Mm-hmm. And much lower cost to operate from a ramp, from a shaft than it is from a ramp.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a big project that we have underway right now. We also broke ground last week on our Lynn Lake project. As you know, we've been working on that project for a number of years. We completed our feasibility, obtained all the permits. We've now completed all the detailed engineering, and we've now started construction. Mm-hmm. So wow. Camp is in place now. All the tree clearing has been done. Everything that we need to do in order to get the project established. Mm-hmm. We'll spend about $100 million on kicking off the Lynn Lake project this year, and we also received our permit to go forward with our project in Mexico. Mm-hmm. So our PDA project, which we've been working on in terms of feasibility and permitting for the last couple of years, we obtained the permit in late January, and we'll be breaking ground on that project in June of this year. So we'll effectively be building at 3 different operations this year. Building a new mine down in the Mulatos district. This will be the 6th mine that we've developed at Mulatos. Building Lynn Lake and continuing to expand on Island Gold. So lots of growth going on in the company.
Absolutely. And let's stay shortly with Mexico. That will be an underground mine, right?
Correct.
Yeah, because otherwise that might be a little bit difficult with the permitting, with the, let's call it, political situation.
Well, as I said, there was something like 2,000 pending permits for the mining industry in Mexico, and Alamos obtained its permit in January. So we were one of the first permits that the new administration granted.
Fantastic.
So we're not awaiting any further permitting for what we're doing in Mexico. We're ready to go.
Yeah.
And it was relatively easy for them to give this one consideration because, first of all, it's an underground mine as opposed to open pit. Mm-hmm. I think that's what you're referring to. Mm-hmm. The fact that we're actually producing a concentrate on site. We're not going to be using cyanide in this leg of production. We're going to be using dried stack tailings, and we're going to be backfilling into a pit. So all of this is, it's a much more straightforward project, much more sort of acceptable environmentally as far as what's going on in Mexico. The fact that it's all within the existing footprint to where we've been operating for the last 20 years. So this is no new disturbance. In other words, we're just going underground off the back of the main Mulatos pit.
Wow.
So all of this has made it a much more straightforward project. And I think that contributed quite a bit to pushing it to the top of the ranks of projects that they would permit first. Mm-hmm. But I also think this is a very good indicator for the other mining companies that are waiting permits in Mexico. Mm-hmm. I think there's a recognition now that mining contributes a great deal to the Mexican economy, and with everything going on in North American trade right now, you can anticipate resource industries are going to play a much more important role, particularly in Canada and in Mexico.
Fantastic. Let's go shortly back to Island Gold and Magino, because that was the last time we spoke. You just bought into that, I would call it, and now you've put that together. So to me, it sounds that this was a real success, the deal, right?
It was indeed. I mean, we had only announced the deal this time last year. We closed it in July, and we've been working on the integration of that whole district over the last 8 months or so. And it's coming together very well. There were certain aspects of the deal that were obvious and were well received immediately by the market. And that was all around the synergies. I mean, there were literally hundreds of millions of dollars of synergies. For example, as part of our phase 3 expansion, we were going to be investing over $100 million last year in the mill expansion. But we didn't have to do that because when we acquired Argonaut, we brought in a brand new 10,000 ton per day mill, which they had only just commissioned. It needs some work, and we've been doing that work. But otherwise, we didn't have to reinvent the wheel. We didn't have to start building a mill to accommodate the underground ore any longer. We had fully permitted tailings facilities. We were running out of tailings capacity, and we were going to spend roughly $25 million last year doing another lift to the Island Gold tailings facility. We didn't have to do that. There was plenty of capacity at on the Magino side, and we've been able to essentially integrate that very quickly into our operations. So, the market could see immediate savings, and so all the focus was very much on the cost savings by way of synergies. What was less apparent, but now is starting to really resonate with the market, is the optionality of having all that permitted capacity. For example, the mill throughput, even though it runs at 10,000 tons a day right now, it's permitted to go to an expanded rate of 35,000 tons a day.
Wow.
Now, we don't even envision going that big at
from where comes the
right
material
now.
then?
Well, we have plenty of reserves, but where we envision going in the short term is essentially integrating all the ore from our expanded project at Island Gold, which is about 2,400 tons a day, plus probably expanding the open pit operation at Magino beyond 10,000 tons a day. And that is very interesting because we can start thinking about how we would expand both those operations over time. Eventually, I see doing at least 3,000 tons a day of underground production from the island side, from the underground mine, and as much as 15 to 20,000 tons a day from the open pit operation. And if you combine that, suddenly now you're up to 550,000 to 600,000 ounces of annualized production coming out of that district.
Wow.
And that's the potential, and we're actually working on that right now.
Okay, super. Reserves, that is a good topic because I saw that you were really able to replace your depletion completely and even find more, right? I think I saw a chart with your reserves that they are much, much higher over the last years, including depletion. So I think you want to spend $72 million for exploration this year overall. So it looks like that you guys are really successful also in your exploration, not only with the production.
Well, we've been investing heavily in exploration for quite a number of years now. And if you look back over the last 6 years, for example, we've increased our reserves. We've added 8 million ounces. 8 million ounces and better quality ounces, and that's net of depletion. This has been a big differentiator where Alamos is concerned. Our finding cost is roughly $30 per ounce across that 8 million ounces. Most of that has been added at Island Gold itself, where we've delineated about 5 million ounces. And the finding cost for those 5 million ounces is roughly $13 per ounce.
That's not that much, I would say.
Well, when you think, we're even across the board, we're finding ounces at $30 an ounce, and right now we can sell them for $3,000 an ounce. I mean, that's a great business.
Lovely small margin.
Yeah. So we have obviously a great deal of confidence in what we can do going forward, and one of the reasons why we have such a big budget this year for exploration is we're just making discoveries and building on new discoveries year by year. So, for example, this year we're continuing to explore in Mulatos. We've got a big budget at Mulatos this year, exploring for higher grade sulfides where we've had great success over the last couple of years. We're already seeing early success in our drilling at Mulatos. We continue to drill at Island Gold, and we're expanding reserves at Island Gold underground in every direction. Essentially, it's open along strike across a 2.5 kilometer long trend. It's open at depth, and we are drilling from surface, further extending the Island East high-grade zone, extending it to depth. We're also drilling into both the hanging wall and footwall, and we've been very successful in that exploration as well. So there isn't a direction where Island Gold isn't expanding right now. And the fact that we're approaching 7 million ounces as of the end of 2024, we envision crashing right through 7 million ounces and building towards 10 million ounces of reserves at Island Underground over the next few years. Now that we've added Magino, just as we sit now in total reserves and resources at Island Gold, adding Magino together with the high-grade underground, we're at about 12 million ounces, which is really, that's a substantial asset now. I mean, that would be considered a big asset for a major mining company. And it's clearly overtaken everything else we're doing at Alamos. And it has become the flagship of the company. Its future growth potential just can't be underestimated, and it really will be a big driver for higher production and lower costs, essentially across the whole company. As we sort of build out these other new mines, they're going to contribute very, very well. That brings on new low-cost production in Mulatos and Young-Davidson and Lynn Lake and so forth. But with this big driver of Island Gold, we can see taking production across the company up over 1 million ounces a year before the end of the 2020s.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Super. That sounds like a good game plan. So that's super organic growth on the one hand. On the other hand, is this the reason that you can bring down by 2027 your AISC to $1,175 per ounce?
Well, it's all to do with the cost efficiencies. There's a much more it's a much more efficient approach producing from a shaft than producing from a ramp. That's just it's easier to take an elevator than take the stairs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And from that point of view, why don't more companies do it? It's the capital cost. You need to have enough of a reserve base in order to invest the capital to put the shaft in place. Once it's in place, you're off to the races. Well, one of the reasons why we focused so heavily on exploration over the last few years at Island Gold was to create that reserve base to effectively back that decision to invest the $700 million it was going to take to turn that into a shaft operation. Well, now it's well underway. We've sunk the shaft down now to the 1,050 meter level. We've broken through into our existing workings, and we're building our first station there. Ultimately, that shaft will go down to roughly 1,300 meters. And that's just this first phase. The next phase will take it down to as deep as 2,000 meters. Wow. And essentially, we built in that hoisting capacity. We have enough hoisting capacity, power, and so forth to operate down as deep as 2,000 meters from the existing shaft. So it envisions all that expansion that we're doing. The deepest drilling we've done to date, where we're still in mineralization, goes down to 1,700 meters. So the time is coming when you will see the mine develop down to those depths. But for the next, at least for the next 7-8 years, we have plenty of reserves in front of us that will be captured by the current depth that we're putting the shaft down to. But we've always got to be thinking what's next. Yeah. And as we do, you can see something like Island Gold. It's going to be operating probably for decades to come.
Absolutely. Great. How healthy is the balance sheet by now? And can you finance all those investments out of the cash flow, obviously, easily because you have such a fantastic margin on your production?
Well, the gold price is obviously helping all the gold producers, and we certainly are very, very happy at $3,100 gold. We are financing everything that we're doing out of our cash flow generation. So the Lynn Lake project, we're going to be building a mine there between now and 2028. It'll be operating by 2028. We were able to build the new mine in Mexico, continue with the expansion at Island Gold and the integration. All of that's been funded out of our ability to generate the cash flow. Over and above that, we should generate this year at least another 200 million of additional free cash flow. Mm-hmm. So it's the best of positions to be in, where you've got fully funded growth and you're generating cash over and above that. And this is the beauty of being in a gold bull market, which we're clearly in. If there was any doubt about it, in the past, as you know, we were here last year, the gold price was probably sitting at $2,200 or so. And things looked very good. And we were anticipating a breakout. Virtually all the CEOs that you were talking to on the panel, we were anticipating a breakout on the gold price. And indeed, it did come. Mm-hmm. And I don't believe it's by any means over. Mm-hmm. So we look forward and we see our ability to continue to fund this expansion is very much intact. And super. And over and above that, we should be in good financial shape.
Okay, perfect. A little bit other question. Do you think about M&A, like, for example, a proposed combination Calibre Equinox, which to me came a little bit by surprise, to be honest? Would that be something you would say, why not? Or do you think, no, we have so much such a large organic growth, we don't need that?
I think that would characterize where we're at. Okay. Our organic growth is very substantial. I mean, last year we were operating at a run rate of 500,000 ounces a year. As you know, we did acquire our next door neighbor. We acquired Magino. That's added another 100,000 ounces. We can see adding another 100,000 ounces from Magino over and above that just by expanding the throughput capacity. It probably should have been sized at roughly 200,000 ounces a year anyway. So, we'll see us continue to work on that. But with the big expansion that we have at Island Gold Underground, the addition of Lynn Lake, we're now going after sulfides in Mexico. I mean, all of these things combined, it will take us to over 1 million ounces a year by the end of the 2020s. I just don't see any necessity, to step into a market and make acquisitions. First of all, look at the acquisitions that were done last year. The Newmont divestitures, for example.
Perfect.
They were all done at top dollar, though. Newmont was able to get top dollar for all those assets. The Equinox acquisition of Orion's interest in their Ontario mine, and they paid over $1 billion for that. It was a good move for them to make, no question about it, but it's just a lot of money to spend. There's a much better alternative for us to essentially continue to grow organically. We're adding ounces, as I said, at $30 per ounce. You can't acquire ounces for $30 an ounce right now. And we're acquiring them into fully permitted production scenarios.
So no risk, you have that already.
Exactly.
Super. Last question is, because I have to ask that, what is your gold price projection end of this year and for 2026? What do you think?
Well, I still remain very, very bullish on the gold price. We were talking about this earlier. I think that gold has clearly broken out. I think we're in the very early stages of the bull market. It's been driven by factors that are very different from the last time we had a run in the gold price back in 2011 and 12. That came off very abruptly, as we all know, and gold retraced all the way back to $1,100. Right now, we've broken up into this above $3,000 an ounce. We've never seen the gold price here. A lot of people, and I'm listening to what people are saying as I'm taking meetings with investors, and they're wondering, are we going to see something similar to the past where, gold breaks into a new high and then quite quickly comes off? And I don't think so. I think the factors that are driving it, geopolitical instability, for example, excessive debt being carried by all the major economies, the accumulation of gold by central banks, all of these factors are not going away, and I think they're going to continue to drive gold higher. I won't be surprised to see gold well above $3,500 over the course of 2025, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it break $4,000 going into 2026.
Thank you very much. That's exactly my prognosis. I love to hear that. Super, John. Thank you very much for that, and we wish you well, of course. And I would say just keep it going, because your success speaks for yourself and the team.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, there was John McCluskey, the CEO of Alamos Gold. And this is an outstanding company. Think about it. In 2024, you could have bought the stock for $8-9. Now it's $27 within 1.5 years only, which is really unbelievable. And the guys are doing a fantastic job. This is a real cash machine. Over 200 million in additional free cash flow comes in, and they can finance everything out of their cash flow. What they are doing, super organic growth, going from almost 600,000 ounces to over 1 million within the next years. And this is exactly what we want to see in safe jurisdictions, doing a great job. Make sure you have some Alamos Gold. Thanks for watching us. Bye-bye from Zurich.